I am afraid of, based on his modus operandi, Mr. Trump's modus operandi, is that 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks down the road, he's going to say, the hell with both of you, plague on both your houses. I'm done. I have other things to deal with.
American officials say 200 US troops will be moved to Israel, from other parts of the Middle East to help coordinate a multinational force to monitor the ceasefire in Gaza. President Trump is expected to travel there this weekend in time for the release of the remaining hostages, both alive and dead. That's most likely to happen on Monday or Tuesday. It is a fragile peace, of course, so what does it mean for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu? Let's speak to Alon Pinkas, former foreign policy advisor to Israeli Prime Ministers Ehud Barak and Shimon Peres, and also Israel's former Consul General in New York. Alon joins us from Tel Aviv. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
First of all, how optimistic, how encouraged are you feeling this morning?
Encouraged and optimistic about the first phase that everyone seems to be interested in, and everyone is predictably and understandably elated about, and that is the release of the hostages, and on the Palestinian side, the release of prisoners. I am much less optimistic about the feasibility and the practicality of the next phases, and I would not call it neither a peace plan nor a plan that can be implemented without problems. So I could see this phase moving smoothly in the next 3-4 days, as you mentioned in your news brief. Hostages will be released by either Monday or Tuesday. After that, it's up for grabs. This could escalate quickly. And the war may resume. There could be a status quo, and we could be pleasantly surprised if there is some progress, but I highly, highly doubt that.
Whose interests would be served if the war was to resume?
Well, Mr. Netanyahu does not want this. The next phases implemented. They include things that are unacceptable to him or his right-wing extremist government. They include a complete and comprehensive Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip. They include the disarming of Hamas. They include an international provisional force to be made up of, composed of some Arab countries and whom the Palestinian Authority invited to do so. And only then does the reconstruction of Gaza is supposed to begin, estimated at about $80 billion. So none of that is in his interest. Now, there's also a very practical, you asked about whose interest it is. There's also a very practical on-the-ground reality here. If Hamas is not disarmed, as Israel thought they would be by now, but they are not, yet Israel does not fully withdraw, but only a limited redeployment along some agreed-upon lines, the likelihood of a skirmish, the likelihood of miscalculation, the likelihood of someone shooting someone and that someone returning fire, and before you know it, we have a resumption of the war is high. It is. There's a term called the strategic corporal. It's just a corporal in the field who returned fire, and before you know it, he caused an event of strategic proportions or on a strategic scale because the war resumed without anyone intending to do so. So between Netanyahu's interests and the likelihood of a mishap, miscommunication, or miscalculation, a lot of things could happen in the next few weeks.
I suppose with that sort of, level of skepticism, which, is not unhealthy given precedent and history in this particular region, the X factor in this whole story is President Donald Trump, is it not? Yeah. And his sort of continued pressure on both sides, on Israel and Hamas, could be the thing that holds this peace together.
Yeah, but emphasize the key word in what you just said, could be.
Yeah.
He's been engaged personally and politically until now, but only in the last 3 weeks, without relitigating what had happened in the last year. From March, since the ceasefire was violated until now, he was disengaged completely. There was nothing going on except for the war, obviously, and the devastation. All of a sudden, he became engaged for a variety of reasons. He was fed up and tired of Mr. Netanyahu's antics and manipulations. The Israeli failed attack in Qatar really angered him. And the Saudis, the Qataris, the Emiratis were all over him. And then came the British, French, Canadian, Australian recognition of a future Palestinian state. Although he dismissed it, it does create some kind of pressure on him. And so he became engaged. But now back to what you just raised. How engaged is he going to be after the first phase remains to be seen? We from what we know about Donald Trump, his attention span is very narrow. His patience are very thin. His interest in the details is nothing to brag about. And he never, ever follows through on policy. And we're going into the stages where there are going to be no ceremonies, no tears of joy, no accolades and no praise. We're going into the tough part of this. And he's just, based on precedent, he's not built for that. Look at Ukraine, for example.
So you're concerned that he isn't plugged in with the sort of details and the substance of what's actually at stake?
Yeah, he's going to look. At some point, this is not going to work. Both sides are committed to negotiations. They're not committed to the implementation of the deal. Both sides have endorsed the idea to negotiate rather than endorse the entire plan, which has its flaws and deficiencies, but nonetheless is the only plan on the table, the only show in town, so to speak. What I am afraid of, based on his modus operandi, Mr. Trump's modus operandi, is that 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks down the road, he's going to say, the hell with both of you, plague on both your houses, I'm done, I have other things to deal with. I have Ukraine, and I have Canada, and I have tariffs, and I have domestic issues, and I have China, and I have Taiwan, and whatnot. Because there's going to be nothing attractive enough in it for him, because this is very tedious, very lengthy, very frustrating, a very frustrating process. So I can see him, unfortunately, disengage again. And if he disengages, then we're back to square one, of course, with the addition, and I'm not belittling the importance of that, of the hostages returning home and the Palestinian prisoners being released. But Hamas has not been disarmed. They have not been deposed. Israel still maintains military presence in Gaza. So 4 weeks from now, we can have this very same conversation, and you will ask me, how is it that the war resumed out of the blue? It's not out of the blue. It's right there in front of us.
Yeah. I do wonder, just as a final thought, Alon, it's really fascinating speaking with you about the kind of international pressure that has built on Israel as well. There's an argument, indeed it's made in the Times today by columnist Gerard Baker, that after the military actions against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis and Iran, that Israel has perhaps never been militarily stronger in the region. But President Trump on Wednesday night told Fox News that he had said to Prime Minister Netanyahu, Israel cannot fight the world, Bibi. They cannot fight the world. Just this idea that global public opinion of Israel may never have been lower. That is what Netanyahu's now contending with too.
Absolutely. I subscribe to every word that Gerard Baker wrote. I haven't read the article, but thank you for pointing it to me. Look, it's very simple. There's a case to be made that from a geopolitical point of view, Israel is stronger in the last year and a half or 2 years. But from a strategic point of view, Israel is possibly weaker because the Palestinian problem is back front and center of international attention. The world is tired, fatigued, and disillusioned with Israel's actions. It is diplomatically isolated, but here's the catch here, and this is sort of a counterintuitive idea that I'm running by you.
Yeah.
Mr. Netanyahu is not only is not affected by this, he is impervious to it. Why is he impervious to it? Because he relishes being in this position. The world is against us. It's us against the world. Only I can stand up to the world. So much so that he hedged all his bets with Donald Trump. Now, hedging your bets with Donald Trump is a pretty risky business.
Yeah. Alon, really interesting speaking to you. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, too.
I appreciate that very much. That's Alon Pinkas, former foreign policy advisor to, several Israeli officials, including prime ministers as well.